Hello and welcome to the Talking with the Experts online business summit. Get ready to gain invaluable insights from industry leaders, uncover innovative strategies and elevate your business to new heights. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a startup founder or a seasoned professional, this summit is designed for you. Let's unlock your full potential and drive your success. Stay tuned for an exciting lineup of experts ready to share their secrets. Let's get started. Discover how AI and learning science are transforming education. Juliette Denny explores AI's role in personalised, adaptive learning experiences. Now, my next guest is Juliette Denny, and Juliette's going to be talking about how AI will revolutionise learning. Now, I discussed earlier today about AI and how it's part of our life now, basically, and we I think have to embrace it because it's here. It's there's nothing we can do about it, whether you're using ChatGPT or one of the other AI type things, or ones for images. AI is here to stay. If you're using Canva, they use AI. So Zoom's using AI, Facebook's using AI. So, it's here to stay, and it's something that I think we need to embrace in our everyday lives. So I'm looking forward to Juliette's talk. Now, Juliette is the AI rockstar revolutionizing learning. So get ready to meet a powerhouse in the learning and development world. Juliette's not your average learning specialist. She's a trailblazer, fusing cutting-edge AI with engaging, whatever that was, pedagogy to create transformative learning experiences. As the founder of Growth Engineering Technologies and Iridescent Technologies, Juliette's work has impacted some of the biggest names in the game: Apple, HP, L'Oreal, Centrica, you name it. Juliette's zeal for human-centric design, learning, pedagogy, don't know what that word is, gamification, instructional design, and profound understanding of AI. This unique blend enables her to construct robust learning platforms that transform traditional lectures into interactive, personalised learning experiences that yield tangible results. And I'm going to get Juliette to tell me what that word is, because I have no idea. Juliette, welcome.
Thank you very much, Rose. It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
What is that word?
It's pedagogy. Pedagogy.
Thank you.
So it is. So pedagogy is the way we learn, how we learn. It's almost like the science behind instructional design. So yeah. It is a very confusing word, though. I do understand that.
Yeah, I've never heard or seen it before. So yeah, I had no idea what it was. So what is the power of personalized learning? How are we going to explore all these things about AI and how we can improve our businesses?
Well, I mean, I think, just by way of background, my background is building, platforms, learning platforms that we would, sell into companies like Flight Centre in Australia, and, as you say, some of the bigger clients like L'Oreal and HP. And so what the goal of sort of creating those platforms has been traditionally in the SaaS world is to optimize process. Yeah. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to deliver learning at scale through e-learning, essentially. Or you're trying to organize webinar sessions. But basically, behind all of this is the philosophy that you are delivering out learning in a one-to-many format. Okay, so you've got an instructor that might be at the front of the classroom. They might be creating the e-learning. They might be, delivering out information on via a webinar. But essentially, the message that they're delivering is a one-to-many, message, right? Mm-hmm. And the problem is with that is the brain does not react very favorably towards that. Okay, so what happens when the brain is engaging with a new idea or a set of new concepts? is, first of all, you've got to have attention. So I'm not sure how many people we've got on this podcast, but let's say for argument's sake, we've got 100 people. You can pretty much guarantee that out of those 100 people, some of them are, thinking about what they've got rest to do today. Some of them are maybe making tea. Some of them are sort of multitasking on emails. Some of them, right? So that first and foremost element, right? The attention you don't necessarily have in a one-to-many scenario, because I'm not directly engaging with you. Okay. The instructor is not directly engaging with you. And this is particularly apt in the world of e-learning, right? So the first thing is that in order to get attention, it's got to be highly relevant to you. You've got to actually care. Like, do I care about this? Is it relevant in my life? And so that attention thing is about, is this information relevant to me? Do I think it's going to help me in my aspirations and my goals? And am I in a position ready to learn? I mean, all of us who have got, children will know how difficult it is to ensure that, they're fed and watered well before they get into school. Do you know what I mean? You even have this sort of biological kind of situation where, kids just, your brain is just not mentally prepared. A lot of us say, oh, I can't do anything without my coffee. So that's the first thing. Okay, do we have attention? And do people actually care about what you're saying? And the answer to that is vastly no, especially when it comes to compliance training. Then we go on to concentration, okay? And concentration is the process of being able to actively understand what is going on in all phases of that learning process in order to make sense of it, okay? And what we also find in studies is that concentration is a really tricky thing, okay? The brain can only concentrate for a very short period of time. And also, the other problem with concentration is you lose it as soon as you can't make connections to prior and existing knowledge. You can't contextualize it. You don't know where it sits in your mind palace of memory bank. And so what happens is you don't concentrate. As a consequence, this information does not get into your short-term memory, okay? So let's say you've got attention, you've got concentration, and for some reason it does get into your short-term memory. And this is great, okay? So you're thinking about it and you're like, yeah, I do understand the concepts. It is relevant to me. Now the issue is in order to move it into your long-term memory and into your behavior, right, your active behavior. So if you can think about something like compliance, again, what you have to do is you have to analyze that information in the context of your own, your own role. And you need to make sense of that information in a way that's going to allow you to remember it and store it in your long-term memory. Okay. So that's really tricky for a one-to-many process. It's just really, really difficult. So what we are doing now in the world of sort of tech builders, right? And so I am a builder of AI applications, is we're trying to use large language models and what we call data lakes. Okay, so the large language model is it's the clever bit on top that looks at the data and then basically interprets it as a conversational interface. So you can put anything in your data lake. Okay, so you can put anything in your database. So we put things like national organizational standards. We put things like international procedural standards, so ISO. We put things like OFQUAL. So OFQUAL is every single qualification ever been taught and approved by, the UK government. And again, in many governments around the world, they have these, bodies that are responsible for standards, be that occupational standards in terms of, industries that are compliance based, be that qualifications, vocational qualifications and academic qualifications, and or business processes that are required, to basically benchmark, standards of excellence. So we can put all of that in our data lake. And then on top of that, we can put the natural language processing layer, which is what the clever stuff that the AI models do. And we can then tag and flag specific information in the data lake in order to completely personalize the learning experience. So Zavmo AI is our product. It's just launched in beta. And it's got a completely conversational interface. Okay, so you arrive at Zavmo AI and it starts asking questions about you. So it says, hello, what's your name? What do you do? What organization do you work for? How long have you been in that role? What are your career aspirations? Have you got any neurodiversity needs? What are your hobbies and your interests? And it asks you all these different questions. And what it's trying to do is benchmark against what it knows in terms of what you want to study, what level you want to study, what educational level it should be creating this content to. And then basically it comes back. So that's the first stage, is discovering all about you. The second stage is discuss. So one thing we know about the one-to-many way of learning is that it's done to you. You often don't really have a choice. This is the curricula, and you've got to do the curricula, and you've got to do all of it, and you've got to do all of the curricula in, the structure and manner that it's been delivered by the teaching organization. So in the discuss phase, we want to turn that on its head, and we will say, well, what's important to you? When do you want to learn? How do you want to learn? Do you want to learn through story? Do you want to learn through case studies? Do you want to learn through role play? Do you want to learn? How do you want to learn? So the discussion is that element of, yes, I'm committed to this learning path. And then we start the delivery, and then we start the demonstration. So the delivery is the learning objectives, and the demonstrate is the learning outcomes. And what we've seen is just an insane level of engagement. So imagine a scenario. So it just launched last week. I mean, it's in beta. Okay. So, there's no paying clients. These are just people kind enough to come in and give their time, effort, and energy, experts in many different fields, corporate learning, or, anybody just interested in, my brother's on there, my dad's on there doing gardening, what we've seen is just an insane level of, because you can map exactly what you want to learn. So when I'm going in there and I'm saying, hey, look, I don't understand how X API automatically tags random data in a hyperdimensional space. And Zavmo will say to me, okay, well, why is that relevant? And I'll say, well, if, when I'm talking to large corporate clients about, rolling out a pilot, what I need to know is I need to know in simple language how data is tagged and flagged automatically, and how the NLP layer using sentiment. So I'm going into a lot of detail about why this information is important to me. And what's happening is Zavmo's coming back and explaining specifically what I want to know. And in the industry, that's called adaptive learning. So this idea that we are driving towards a completely tailorized, personal approach is really what the power of AI is in the context of learning and development. And just, I loved Rose's talk. I was lucky enough to see some of it, before I came on. And one of the things that I loved about her talk is she talks about the power of emotion in story. And so I'd just like to take that fabulous idea and just tell you the origin story of Zavmo. So the origin story of Zavmo is that I'm dyslexic, and my kids are dyslexic, and they're both very bright. I ended up with a degree from Harvard, so very bright, but just educationally very, very challenged when we were going through the formal school system. So my desire to create Zavmo was born out of the desire of looking at Zavi, who is my youngest, he's now 19, who fell out of school at 15, and saying, right, well, how can I get maths? Because his brain does work in a math-like way. How can I get him to have a passion and a love for maths, given that I know that he loves surfing and motorbikes? So that's where it came out of, to try and shape these topics, which math is math, but how you teach it, that's the thing that's of interest. So the power and excitement of AI in, the future of learning is profound in my view.
Oh, absolutely. I think, they're already starting to use it in school, so I understand, in Australia anyway. A lot of teachers are using it to teach things like English and science and stuff like that, and things that AI can give answers to in a real way, and not in some fabricated or fairy floss sort of way. So it but there is the potential for it to get it wrong, though, isn't there?
I mean, I think as the models get better, there's less and less chance of that. But it also, in a corporate or academic setting, it's not necessarily advisable just to use open AI, right? Really what you should be doing is creating your own data lake and ensuring that there are enough data points within that data lake to avoid hallucinations or anything like that. And that can be done if you have a set of standards. So for example, you're never going to get a situation where maths GCSE from the Cambridge Examining Board is not going to be taught in line with the Cambridge Examining Board, because there are many data points in the actual data lake which ensure and keep bouncing off each other to say, if this is not there or if this is not true, then basically don't deliver it. So the quick answer is yes, it's absolutely vital to know what guardrails you've got in place within your data lake. But if the data lake is constructed properly, then that should be able to be minimized substantially. So, for example, if you look at some of the work that we're doing in the corporate space, there are many organizations out there that don't have up-to-date job descriptions. And there are many organizations that don't have development plans that are dynamic for future skills. Now, we're obviously in a kind of scenario where future skills are going to be, absolutely vital for, the future of all of our organizations in order to innovate and flourish. And so what we're doing is using, the information in the data lake to basically benchmark the JDs on the job descriptions on national organizational standards, and then delivering the training needs analysis in line with those very high standard benchmarks. And what this means is that everybody in the organization has a very clear idea of what good looks like. Now, they might not all be developing the same functional, foundational, and future skills. So that those are the buckets that we try and identify at the same time. But what they will be doing is they will be very clear on the foundational, functional, and future skills that they need in order to drive their organization forward in line with the values and mission of their organization. So this massive amount of data, I mean, the data that is involved in is so unbelievably huge. We've never really had an opportunity to do anything like this before. So, there's huge excitement around the possibility of how we can really begin to show how many people in our organization are really moving forward in kind of the 3F of, the 3Fs of skills. But, the key thing is that people have to enjoy learning. That's the bottom line. They have to want to develop. They have to know why they're developing. They have to be interested and curious about how this information is going to impact their role. And that is the power of adaptive learning. That is the power of AI in corporate and educational learning. It's not simply asking ChatGPT a question. That is not what we're talking about here when we're talking about, building AI applications like Zavmo. Zavmo is a completely tailored. Zavmo doesn't deliver anything that is not absolutely right for your educational level, for your age, for your context, for your neurodiversity needs, for your interests, for your hobbies. And this is something that I think, will absolutely revolutionize, education and the way we know it.
Yeah, and I think it's important that education is tailored to the learner. At the moment, it's like chuck the mud on the wall and let it stick, and so it's a one size fit all scenario. And to me, if you've got a disability, a learning disability of some type, education is not meant to, as it stands now, it's not meant to, help those that have difficulties, or or even if they're at the higher end of the scale, and they're like geniuses. It takes a long time for the education department or whatever it is to figure out where to put this particular person.
Rose, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's it, isn't it? If you look at a baby and you look at kids, they're naturally curious. They might not be curious about literature or, biology or whatever, but they are curious. So if we can tap in to that kind of idea of what do you love about life, and how can we situate maths or biology or, whatever it might be, into a context that really does delight and excite, individuals, because they've said, this is what I'm curious about. I'm curious about dogs. I live in the mountains. I'm really interested in mountains. Teach me about maths in and around a scenario where I'm hiking, or I'm looking at the sun, or I'm feeling the velocity of the wind on my face, or
Absolutely.
whatever it is. I'm much more likely to be like, you know what, that makes sense. What I don't want to see is something on a piece of paper that, is just dry. And how can now a coach can do that, but how do we scale coaching at a government level or at a large corporate level? You just simply can't do that.
Absolutely. I think education, a lot of the things that they're being taught in schools is irrelevant to life in general anyway. I mean, if you're not going to use algebra in your future life, why do you need to learn it at school? And that's just my thinking. But and why do you need to learn about biology if you're not going to be a biologist or be a doctor?
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting all the skills we don't teach. So why don't we teach more about things like nutrition? Why don't we teach more about managing personal finances? Why don't we teach more about optimizing, health? Why don't we teach more about relationships? Okay, being able to talk to one another.
100%. No, I totally agree with that. I think if they restructured the learning, I think they'd keep more kids engaged, and they'd have better learning outcomes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating field, education, but I do think we are on a wave of evolution, and we'll still need teachers. Humans need humans. It's very, very difficult to adapt in a highly, highly personalized way for teachers when they've got 40 people in a class or 30 people in a class. It's really, really difficult. So hopefully the more of these applications we see in the market, the more teachers will, see their pupils flourish and grow, and it'll be a win-win for, everybody.
Absolutely. Juliette, it's been an absolute pleasure. Now, tell me, you can find the app at Davmo, DAVMO.ai. Please go and check it out. Honestly, I think it's going to be a worthwhile tool for future use. And you can also find Juliette on LinkedIn and Instagram. So please, go and check her out there. I've put her links in the comments. So go and check Juliette out.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's an absolute pleasure, Rose. Thank you very much indeed. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow, that was interesting conversation, and I really enjoyed the fact that AI is progressing so far that we can take it into classrooms and things now, and tailor teaching to suit the learner, not just throw mud at a wall and let it stick. Thank you for joining us at the Talking with the Experts Online Business Summit. I'm Rose Davidson, and it's been an honour to host this incredible event. We hope you found the insights and strategies shared by our esteemed speaker valuable. Remember, your journey to success doesn't end here. Keep applying what you've learned, stay connected with our community, and continue to push boundaries of your business. Until next time, keep thriving and striving for excellence. Goodbye, and see you at our next summit.